how'd you feel? I know you got the opportunity to see it all throughout the preseason, but with the new kickoff rule opening game, how'd you feel that y'all handled it on your side?
Listen, I thought we did a good job. I mean, obviously we covered a lot of kicks, which is a good thing, right? But I thought for the most part, I mean, listen, there's always going to be some corrections and some things we could do better. It's disappointing we get a holding call on the very first play of the game. That really could have been a big play. We were really close on that one, but I thought, for the first time out, seeing it really in true live action with the guys that are, obviously in the preseason you're rolling a lot of guys through, so some of those guys didn't get a ton of reps. But yeah, I thought, and then league wide, I think, there's going to be some teams that kind of take that wait and see approach, see how the things are playing out. But overall, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the numbers. Compared to week one last year, the return numbers are way up, and so hopefully it keeps working like that.
When you studied the league, did you see anything that maybe surprised you that other teams were doing?
Nothing really surprised me. Obviously we kind of knew that teams were kind of holding their schemes for the regular season. Everybody was kind of vanilla in the preseason, kind of man-on-man blocking. There were some new schemes that showed up, which are pretty cool to look at, study, stuff that we had worked on and looked at. So nothing that was shocking. I think there was 4 returns over 40 yards. Obviously, I think Arizona had that big one. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch that all year.
Was it rewarding, like knowing that you kind of helped pioneer all of this and push it forward and everything to see not an opening drive touchdown, but a touchdown in the opening
in week one? Yeah. Well, listen, I think it's still certainly a work in progress for everybody. I think everybody's still trying to, not 100% figured it out yet, which is pretty cool, to be honest with you, because there's really nothing in this game that we can ever say, and this is my 32nd year of coaching, and I can't say I've ever had a year where you're trying to figure out something like this. It's pretty unique. And so it's kind of a week to week, it's a learning experience. It's really, really cool for all special teams coaches. But I think that, I think we'll probably look back on it and feel that way. But right now, when you're in the middle of it, just trying to win this week. So, win the day.
So how many returns Turpin and how important is it?
I'm sorry, say again.
Turpin, how dangerous
Yeah.
returns.
Yeah. Listen, Turpin's a phenomenal player. He's a guy obviously could change a game. He changed the game last week. Returned a punt for a touchdown. Very, very impressive guy. He's dangerous. We got to be covering. Our butts off this week. I got a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for the coach. I got a lot of respect for their overall special teams. They got really good specialists. Turpin's just one of them. But it really, you look at their overall special teams, from the coach right through the specialists, right through the core players, and they got a really, really solid group. So this is a big challenge for us this week. So it's a big week for the special teams group.
Riz, I know you weren't in the Panthers special teams room, but was Hecker trying to short kick on sheet a couple times, just get a rollout?
Yeah, Johnny Hecker's got a lot of tools. He's got a lot of ball. He's got a lot of different kicks that he kicks, and so I think they were doing a little bit of keep away. He's got a ball. It shows one way, it goes the other way, and he's got a knuckleball, which he hit on that last one that Sid put on the ground. That he's kind of got a spinner and a knuckleball, and so I really think they just were trying to get Sheed, not to get clean catches, and so that's going to be a common theme. I think a lot of teams will try to do that to us, and so yeah, that's kind of
that's going to be what the follow up.
Yeah.
You think just because of his success, teams are going to try to take him out?
Yeah.
In that way?
Listen, against any good returner in the league, your location of the kicks is going to be extremely important. There'll be different game plans that we got to be ready for, but he's got to be ready. We all got to be ready to field all types of kicks. Their kicker last week on their kickoffs got the Browns to let one land in the landing zone, went through to the 20-yard line, and then the returner for Cleveland put 2 on the ground. And so not only the punter, the kicker, we've got to be ready for that in both phases. Because that's one of the things that kind of gets lost in the shuffle, I think, a little bit with the new kick return rule is that, because the hang time means nothing, these kickers have the ability to kick all kinds of different types of kicks. And so fielding the ball back there becomes paramount, not just on punt, but on kickoff too.
So how do you feel about the number of touchbacks in the context of the new rule in week 1?
Well, I got to be honest, I'm not really surprised. Once, the initial proposal had the touchback at the 35, the NFL, I think we talked about that last week, they moved it back to the 30. And so, with that, when that happened, naturally the touchback number was going to go up. Here's the numbers that I'm looking at. The numbers that I'm looking at in week 1 last year, in 2023, there was 31 kickoff returns for the entire league. This week, if I'm not mistaken, there was 54. There was a touchdown. The return percentage went from 20% to 33%. So we're looking for the improvements. When we made that decision league-wide to make the touchback to 30 instead of the 35, then there's going to be teams that say, you know what, we're not going to, cover kicks in this particular game. We're going to kick touchbacks. So I can't sit here and tell you I was surprised by it. Two things we wanted to do: make the play safer and make the play more exciting. We want more returns. So it might not be the number we're all looking for yet, and that's why I say it's a work in progress. But overall, it's an improvement. And any improvement, in my opinion, is last year, again, we had the lowest return percentage ever in the history of the league. Anytime you use the word ever in this league, it's a big deal. And so the improvement was the thing that we were looking for the most. I'll give you a crazy stat. I told the guys this, we had to get the return. So we had 12 last year, 2023, we had 12 kickoff returns against us. So where we had to get the return around the ground. Week 1, we had 9. So it's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it. So 9 times last week, we had to tackle their kick returner. With the previous year, we only did it 12 times for the entire season. So, it's definitely a new game and a new deal, and that's what we wanted to see. One improvement in the play.
So are you taking credit for that number going up to 34%?
I'm not taking any credit. Because you know what's going to happen. I'm going to take all the blame too. So I'm not taking any credit right now. So because everything that goes wrong will be my fault too. So.
Hey, Darren, when it comes to long field goals, just kind of a logistical question. Like, do you decide prior to the possession, like, okay, this is a 57-yarder from here, we're willing to kick it, so the offensive coordinator knows when he's calling that play, we can go for it, because I know that 57-yarder kind of went for the end zone prior rather than picking up a few more yards. Do they know when they call that play that, okay, we can kick it from here even if we don't get any more yards?
Yeah, listen, not to let you behind the curtain too much, but I mean, the DA and I are talking every possession in terms of our options, in terms of the game management, in terms of, is this going to be a punt situation, a field goal situation, a go-for-it situation? And usually, obviously, that's DA's decision. He's going to communicate with Clint, the offensive staff, and say, hey, listen, in this situation, if we end up in blah, 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 it might be a go for it. If we end up in this situation, it's going to be a punt. If we end up in this situation, it's going to be a field goal. So those are constant conversations that are going on the headsets throughout the game. Now, that being said, there's also a game plan aspect of it. The kicker, the range. Are we playing indoors? Are we playing outdoors? Are we playing against a team? Listen, for a lot of years I was in Miami. We played Tom Brady for 10 years in a row. And when you played that game, if you could pin them back and make them go 90 yards instead of trying a 55-yard field goal, that was a big deal. So all those things are going to play into it. The quarterback you're playing, the atmosphere, your home, on the road. So all those things that we're kind of working game management during the week. And so it's really a game plan type of thing. So that's a week-to-week thing. It's a drive-to-drive thing. And so, that's really how that works.
It sounds like you think even with the rule as it is that 1 week's not a trend, so you're still waiting to see if it'll change over time when people get used to it, as people get used to it? Or?
No question. Listen, I think that when this whole thing's over at the end of the season, we're going to look back and we're going to look at all the numbers. And I think there's going to be ebbs and flows? I do. I think there's going to be weeks where the return percentage is up. I think it's going to be down. Don't forget, we're going to have cold weather games at the end of the year. And even before the rule change, the return percentage goes up at the end of the year because the outdoor teams, the kickers, can't get the balls far down the field. So I'm not going to put too much stock into any 1 week, no different than the preseason. I think at the end of the year, what we want to do is we want to look at this play and say, number one, did we make the play safer? What are the injury numbers like? How are we looking there? And then number two, did we get more plays into the game? Did we add more returns? Is the return percentage up? Those are going to be probably the biggest parameters, if you will, in terms of measuring the play. So I'm not going to get too crazy in any particular week. Listen, there's teams probably last week that kick touchbacks every week. They're new. They may play a different opponent this week, and they may put the ball in play every time. Same with us. Same with our opponent. So that's why I'm just, I'm going to really take a look at the broad picture later in the year. I appreciate you guys. You got it.